Toronto's transit debate comes to a head at City Council today.
And police late charges in a murder case almost 2 decades old. Humber News starts now.
Hello, it's Wednesday, March 21st. Welcome to Humber News, coming to you from the Broadcast Center here at the North Campus. I'm Andrea Lawson. Thanks for joining us.
And I'm Philip Maciel. Ahead on our show, we have all your news, sports, and entertainment highlights, as well as your 5-day weather forecast. But first, Andrea has our top story.
Toronto City Council is expected to vote today on whether subway or light rail transit will be built on Shepherd. Mayor Rob Ford and his subway allies are facing off against councillors who support the LRT. The mayor and his brother, Councillor Doug Ford, say they're backing a 1% hike on property taxes to finance the subway. An expert panel commissioned by council recently endorsed the LRT line, but the Fords say the panel is biased. The provincial government has earmarked $8 billion for council to decide the future of Toronto transit.
Spring has sprung and Toronto is counting its green thanks to an unseasonably warm winter. Reports suggest the city has saved $10 to $12 million on snow removal this year. Total snowfall was less than half the average. Heating bills were down close to 20% as temperatures hit the freezing mark a mere 18 days. That's compared to an average winter of 56 days below freezing. In fact, it was the warmest Toronto winter since 1937.
And don't forget your sunblock if you're headed outside today. It's a scorcher. The hot weather is bringing out lots of smiles and summer clothes, but could also be cause for concern. Humber reporter Kate Foster brings us the details on the heat wave.
We are only in our second day of spring and temperatures are expected to continue breaking records. Many animals are already out gathering food for their young and migratory birds have already returned. The early onset of these hot summer-like days have essentially tricked nature, causing plants to bud too soon. While this could simply mean an earlier spring leading to a luscious summer and long fall, another cold snap could have detrimental effects. The Humber Arboretum's senior horticulture technologist, Heather Summers, explains.
So if we have a hard frost, that will kill all those buds, all right? Which means that those would have been the buds that would be the leaves for the shrubs or the trees this year. So they'll have to put out another whole set of buds and then leaves, right? So in some plants, that won't be too much of a problem. In other plants, that would mean perhaps the death of the new twigs.
Despite the possible aftermath of the heat, it's hard to complain about so much sunshine in March.
I have to say I like it. I mean, anytime you can come out in shorts and a t-shirt in March is definitely a bonus.
Oh, I love it. I think it's absolutely fantastic, and it's been nice to sit outside and do some work and just enjoy the sunshine. It feels good, yeah.
Despite the environmental concerns that these unseasonably warm temperatures raise, it's undeniable people love it. Kate Foster, Humber News.
Thanks, Kate. Toronto's inside workers have voted in favor of a strike. The workers' union is now in the position to strike beginning on Saturday. QP Local 79 President Tim McGuire says they are willing to continue negotiating past Saturday's deadline, but they will strike if the city imposes new work conditions. If a lockout or strike does happen, many city buildings may be closed, including museums, community centers, and some daycares.
The Toronto District School Board has some tough decisions to make today. The board will be meeting to decide whether hundreds of layoffs may be necessary due to budget cuts. With an $85 million deficit, jobs at risk include secretaries and elementary school vice principals. Education assistants could be the hardest hit if job cuts are deemed necessary. As many as 600 people could be laid off. Trustees will be voting on the proposals next Wednesday.
The judge in the Michael Rafferty trial says a videotaped interview with Rafferty's former girlfriend will be allowed as evidence. In the 2009 interview, Terry Lynn McClintock repeatedly says it was Rafferty who dealt the fatal blows to 8-year-old Tori Stafford. In 2 appearances on the stand last week, McClintock insisted she was the one who struck and killed Stafford. McClintock will continue her testimony today. Rafferty has pled not guilty to first-degree murder, sexual assault causing bodily harm, and abduction.
The victim of a nearly 20-year-old homicide investigation has been named. 17-year-old Melanie Bindersingh's remains were found crammed in a burning suitcase in 1994. Police announced in a news conference this morning that the teen's father and stepmother have been charged with first-degree murder. Homicide Detective Steve Ryan said a tip last month led police to Jamaica, where Binder Singh's biological mother lives. They were able to confirm Binder Singh's identity with DNA. Her remains showed she had been beaten and starved before being killed. The girl weighed just 50 pounds when she died.
When we come back, we'll have more news from across the country and around the world. Luke Vermeer will have the sports news, and we'll have your weather forecast with Sarah Savage.
Yesterday saw a record high for the first day of spring, but how long will this unseasonably warm weather last? I'll have your 5-day weather forecast after the break.